Ari, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, hello, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari and thank you for clicking on this video. Welcome. Today, because this is my first video of 2022, I was going to do like a New Year's resolution type video, and then I got a new job, so I never made the video, and now it's like kind of too late, I feel like. But one of the things I was going to talk about in that video was my goals for my transition this year. I'm making more money, I have better medical coverage to get different like hormone treatment and stuff. So I thought maybe I would do a video going over like my goals for my transition this year. But then I had a better idea. I wanted to do a video where I just give some advice to any parents that have trans kids. This also applies for if you have like friends or other family members or just like coworkers, anyone in your life that is transgender, this applies to them. But I thought I would kind of make it geared towards parents because I don't know, I feel like parents have just like a really hard time when their kids come out as trans. So I just wanted to give you guys some advice. Super short background about me. I am transgender female to male. Obviously, I don't pass that well. I came out as trans when I was 13, but because of my environment, not just my home environment, but like my whole life environment, like school, church, neighborhood, like online environment, home environment, friend environment, just my life was not really a great environment for me to be trans in. I live in Utah. So I just went back into the closet and then last year when I turned 18 and I moved out of the house and I moved cities and I had a new friend group and a new online circle where I felt more comfortable, I came out again as trans. Just because I lived as a girl for those years does not mean that I was not trans. I knew I was trans. I just couldn't be bothered to live as a boy because of the frustrating things about the environment I was in. So yes, I identify as male, my pronouns are he, him, and here are a couple tips for parents of transgender children. Number one is kind of an obvious one, but use their name and pronouns. Most people who are transgender change their name. I did not change my name. My full name, or what we call a dead name, is Ariane, and as my mother was giving birth, my dad came to her and was like, I want to name her, don't refer to me as her, but this is what he said when they didn't know I was a boy yet. I want to name her Ari. And my mom was like, we're not naming her Ari. Ari is a boy's name. We can name her Ariane. So they named me Ariane, and I've gone by Ari my whole life. So I didn't change my name because I already have a boy's name / a gender neutral name. But most transgender people have a pretty feminine or masculine name. And so when they transition into the other gender, or if they're non-binary into a neutral gender or whatever non-binary gender, there's so many different, there's so much terminology for non-binary people, so I'm just gonna say non-binary. But whatever they're transitioning into, normally the person will choose a more masculine or feminine or neutral name to fit their identity. They'll also change their pronouns. So for example, growing up, I was always called she and her, but I am a man, so I prefer to be called he and him. And so using your child's name and pronouns, if they change their name, it's gonna be hard, okay? It's gonna be hard. The way I think of it is, don't think of it as their name at first, unless it's easy for you. But if it's not easy for you, think of it as a nickname. Like Ari is my nickname, technically. And I've done that with trans friends. I've just thought of their new name as, oh, like this is their new nickname. And then I get used to calling them that, and eventually it's like, oh yeah, that's just their name. One way that can help with this, because I know this is super hard, especially for parents, like you named your own child and you've been calling them he or she their entire life, is to practice when they're not around. Like when you're driving to work or whatever, pretend like you're talking to a coworker or a family member, or just like, I don't know, pretend you're on a TV show being interviewed about your family. I have no idea. But just practice. Like for the examples I'm going to use in this video, I'm going to use the examples of a girl named Ashley transitioning into Dylan, okay? So let's say your daughter's name is Ashley, and Ashley comes to you and she's like, hey, I'm transgender, I'm actually a man, a boy, whatever age, and my new name is Dylan. So as you're driving to work, you can practice saying out loud, or in your head if you want, this is my son, his name is Dylan. Dylan really likes the school he goes to. He really likes playing soccer with his friends. Kind of just practicing different things about your kid with their name and their pronouns, just when you're by yourself, so that when you actually have to do it out loud around people, you're already a little bit used to it. Also, change their name in your phone. Don't keep their dead name in your phone. Change it to Dylan, or change it to whatever their new name is on your social medias, in your phone. And also make sure that if you have any, like, their doctor, their primary care doctor, they have a therapist, their school, call, and you can you can't change their legal name normally, but you can put in a preferred name, or they can put a note in their chart or in their file that says this is the name that they go by. So make sure to do that as well. The second one is a pretty big one, I feel like, and that is help them with their appearance. When somebody is born as one gender and they want to transition into the other gender, normally they want to look like that gender, you know, they want to be perceived as that gender, and so they want to change their appearance. But if you're completely raised as a girl or completely raised as a boy, you probably don't really know how to like dress and act and style yourself in the opposite gender. The main thing that most trans people immediately want to do is to change their hair. If they're transitioning into a man or into a more masculine person, then they're probably going to want to cut their hair. The thing with this is, if you bring someone who's biologically a girl into a hairdresser and you show them a boy's haircut, they always just give you a pixie cut. Like, I'm not kidding. Every single trans person I know, when they go to get a trans man that I know, when they go to get their haircut, they show them a men's haircut, but the hairdresser's like, oh, this is a girl, and they get a stupid pixie cut. So be so careful. Even go to a barber instead of a hair salon if you can, if you're trying to get a boy's haircut for your new son, because they will give him a girl's haircut. If your kid is transitioning into a girl, most likely they'll want to grow their hair out. Some trans girls like to have a pixie cut, which is also super cute. It's fun to like dye it feminine colors and stuff. But let them grow their hair out. Try to like show them how to curl it, show them how to straighten it and style it, teach them to braid, stuff like that. They're also probably going to need some new clothes. They might want dresses. They might need, like, if you're religious, they're gonna need church clothes. They're gonna need like nice collared shirts and ties and stuff. Teach them how to tie a tie. Find dresses that can fit them. Being trans, it's kind of hard to find clothes that fit because they're built like for the dimensions of a person that was born that sex. So it's kind of hard to find sizes, but do your best. And obviously you don't have to buy them a whole new wardrobe. I mean, if you have that kind of money, do it. That's great. Support your kid and buy them a whole new wardrobe. But I don't have that kind of money, so thrift stores, eBay, Mercari, even Facebook Marketplace are your best friends. And if they have clothing they want to get rid of, let's say Ashley, who is now Dylan, doesn't want any of these dresses. Of course, Dylan doesn't want to wear dresses. You can sell those dresses to somewhere like Uptown Cheapskate. I don't know if that's like a national thing or if that's like a Utah thing. But just any of these stores, like Kid to Kid, who will buy your clothes and then use that money to get new clothes that are correctly gendered for your kids. Also, if they're transitioning to be more feminine, you can teach them how to do makeup if you have those skills. If you don't, maybe buy them some not cheap makeup, but buy them some nice makeup and they can watch YouTube videos. And not to make things awkward, but they're probably going to want to wear undergarments of the gender they're transitioning into. I know for myself, I was like, I don't know my size in boxers. Like, I don't. How am I supposed to know that? So if you're comfortable enough with your kid, helping them figure out their undergarments sizes, that will be helpful. Number 3 is to try to understand transness, which isn't a word, but for the sake of this video it is. Educate yourself, and that doesn't mean just Google. Like, don't just like Google transgender, because there's a lot of people spreading a lot of lies and a lot of hate. And I don't want you to look at that and then think that it's true or that it's helpful. Get your information about transgender people and gender dysphoria from psychiatrists, researchers, scientists, and from trans people. Like, trans people know about trans people because they are trans people. You know what I mean? There are a lot of trans YouTubers, some of which the trans community as a whole don't really like because of things that they say, and like, I don't know, they just don't represent all trans people well. So if you're watching trans YouTubers, to learn about it, maybe ask your kid, like, hey, what trans YouTubers do you watch? Because you might run into some like really oddly like transphobic transgender people. We live in a weird world. Number 4, this is the big scary one. I know, just bear with me until number 5 and just listen to what I have to say. Consider medical transition. The main thing with this one that I really want to get through to people is if your kid is coming to you and coming out as transgender young before they hit puberty, please, for the love of God, consider using hormone blockers. Hormone blockers, it's not hormone treatment. You are not giving your kid hormones of the opposite gender. Hormone blockers or puberty blockers, basically if you start them before you hit puberty, you can delay that puberty. So let's say Ashley is 7 and Ashley says, Mom, I'm actually a boy. So if you don't do hormone blockers, Ashley, who is actually a boy, Dylan is going to grow up as a boy and then suddenly hit female puberty. That's not going to be great for Dylan, because Dylan doesn't need to hit female puberty. But if you use hormone blockers, he won't hit that puberty. He will just remain how he is. And that doesn't mean that he hits male puberty. It means that he just remains how he is. I find this important because people say, well, I don't want my kid, you know, medically transitioning because what if they regret it? Like, you know, my kid is 7. I'm not going to give my 7-year-old hormones. Of course you're not. A 7-year-old doesn't even have, like, puberty hormones yet. But let's say Dylan later in life decides, oh wait, it was all a phase. I'm not actually trans. That like really never, I'm sure it happens, but like that's not really a thing that happens. But let's just say those hormone blockers, Dylan is, let's say 15 and he's never hit female puberty. There's 2 options. If he still is a man and he is transgender, you can start doing testosterone treatment and he can hit male puberty like all of his peers. Or let's say for some reason he's like, oh, actually, I'm not trans, I'm Ashley. Great, then just take him off, well, take her off of the hormone blockers and now she'll hit female puberty. So that's the thing about hormone blockers, is that they are reversible. Once you get off of them, you will hit the puberty of the sex that you were assigned. And if you still don't want to hit that puberty because you are transgender and you want to transition into the other gender, then you can start taking hormone treatment for the gender you're transitioning into, especially for trans women and trans girls. So if you have a son who wants to transition into a woman, when a kid hits male puberty, that really cannot be undone that easily. And that's a really big thing for a lot of trans women, is that they can never get that voice higher. They can never get that Adam's apple to go away. So if you do have a little boy who wants to be a girl, please consider doing hormone blockers, at least for a while, until you can figure out if you want to let her take estrogen. Just for the record, a person who's transgender, you should call them the pronouns of what they're transitioning into. So if they were born a male and they're transitioning into a female, you call her she. My issue is that I'm speaking about people who are like in transition and after transition and pre-transition, so it's like I don't know what pronouns to use when, but just in general, if you're talking about someone who's transitioning into a woman, don't use he, use she. Transitioning into a man, don't use she, use he. And then of course later in life, when your kid is older, you can consider putting them on testosterone or on estrogen so that they can grow into the adult version of themselves as the gender that they truly are. There's also surgeries to consider. There is multiple different types of surgery. Trans men normally want to get top surgery, which restructures the chest to be flat and look like a man's chest. There's multiple different ways that you can do that, like different types of surgery. Same with, they call it top surgery and bottom surgery. Bottom surgery for both genders. There's also multiple ways to do it. So if you are comfortable with your teenager, like older teenager, having gender reassignment surgery, then that's great. Research the different types, research which one might be best for you. If you are not okay with that, please just try to be open to it. Like, no one's telling you to let your 12-year-old have sex reassignment surgery, but as they get older, that is something that they're gonna want. If you want to make them wait till they're 18, that's fine, but please at least try to give them hormone blockers. The next one is to make sure your kid has support, and I mean support outside of you. Most trans kids and trans people not only deal with bullying and hatred, but also have a lot of anxiety, often have depression, and even suicidal thoughts and tendencies. that are a lot brought on by being trans and by the hardships that they face because of that. So if your kid needs to see a therapist, please get them a therapist, get them a psychiatrist. There's group therapy, and there's a lot of group therapy for LGBT kids and trans kids specifically. Try to find people, whether it's online or in real life. There's lots of like pride centers, pride groups, transgender kid groups, and there's also groups for parents as well. And while we're talking about parents, this might seem kind of harsh, but like, it's not about you. Your kid being trans is not about you. Please, I know that it can be hard to have a trans kid. I don't know why it's hard. I don't feel like it should be hard, but for some reason it's really hard for most parents, and I recognize that, and I'm not going to dismiss that. So if it is hard on you that your kid is trans and you're dealing with all these changes in this transition, do not talk to your kid about it. Your kid is not your therapist, and all you're going to do is make your kid feel so guilty and bad about themselves. Their transition isn't about you. It's not about you losing your child. You're not losing a child. You are learning more about your child. You are building a new relationship with a new version of the child that you have been loving and raising. People think like when your child transitions, the old version of them dies and the new version exists. Like, it is the same child you have always loved, and they are just finally blossoming into what they have always been destined to and what they've always wanted to be. And that's a happy thing. Like, imagine being in your kid's shoes. You know, they have this whole thing they're gonna have to deal with their whole life that's hard. They're gonna get hate for it. It's gonna be physically uncomfortable. They may have to take hormones for the rest of their lives just so that they can feel comfortable in their skin. They may have to get surgeries just so that they can feel comfortable in who they are. And the last thing that they need is a parent who's making a big fuss over how terrible it all is. That being said, if it's hard for you, you shouldn't have to just sit there silently. Talk to your spouse, talk to your friends. Don't talk bad about your kid to your friends or your spouse, but like, talk to people. And like I said, there's a ton of groups. Look on Facebook, look at different pride centers or even therapy centers that are in your area for parents of LGBT kids or trans kids. Facebook's gonna be your best friend on this. You can find like super specific Facebook groups for people that have like trans daughters, trans sons, non-binary kids. You can find groups for like parents of trans kids under 5 or like parents of trans adults, like anything. So if you have Facebook and you feel like you need some support, join as many Facebook groups as you want. Find that support, seek that support, see a therapist if you need to, but please just don't make it a burden on your kid. The next one is school support. If your kid is still in school, this is a huge one. Like I said, you can contact the school and make sure that they know your kid's chosen name, and normally you can get their new name put on the roll. So when the teachers call roll, it will be their correct name that is with the gender that they are transitioning into. Also, make sure that they have a bathroom to use. It depends on your state, it depends on your school, and it depends on what your kid is comfortable with. For example, I just used the girls' bathroom because I was not comfortable going into the bathroom with the other boys. That made me very uncomfortable. And because I came out and started living as a man after school, like after high school, I didn't really have to deal with it after that. Some kids are like, whatever, I'll just use the bathroom of the gender that I was born. Most kids don't want to do that. Like, why would a boy want to go into the girl's bathroom? That's awkward. Or a girl into the boy's bathroom. That's probably dangerous. So your two options are, if your kid is okay with it, the school is okay with it, and your state permits it, your kid can use the bathroom of the gender that they're transitioning into, and that's great. If your kid's not comfortable with that, the school won't let you or the state won't let you, they should have a staff bathroom or a gender neutral bathroom that your kid can use. Same with locker rooms. Your kid might have to use a gender neutral bathroom as a locker room if they have to change for PE. Also, be aware, you can email all their teachers or send a letter, or your kid can bring it up to them. Make sure that they are aware what your kid's chosen name is and their chosen pronouns are, and that is what they need to be called. Be aware of any discrimination that's going on. Make sure that you're talking to your kid. If there's a teacher that is dead naming them or calling them the wrong thing or being transphobic, be aware of that. Bring that up to the school. Fight for your kid and make sure that they are getting fair treatment. Same thing with bullying. I'm gonna be real with you, there will be bullying. There's gonna be bullying. So provide that support and be in contact with the school and make sure that your kid's getting taken care of. Okay, we're almost done. This has been a much longer video than I expected, but I'm very passionate about this because frankly, not only have I had a hard growing up trans situation, but the suicide rate of trans kids is like way too high, and it's really sad to think about, and I'm not going to talk about it because it's sad, but I'm passionate about that, and that's why I'm making this video. So I apologize if it's really long and I'm long-winded. I just want you to understand the importance of how much these things will really make a difference on a trans kid's life. Next one is to watch your company, for lack of a better word. You know, if you're hanging out with people who are obviously transphobic or homophobic, your kid's gonna see that. You can tell your kid, like, I love you, I accept you, I don't care that you're trans, that's great. But then if you're hanging out with people in front of them, or you're out talking on the phone, or they see people that you're reposting or friends with on Facebook and they're being openly transphobic, what message does that send? It's like, I love you and accept you, but I also love people who think that you're an abomination and you're going to hell and that you should be dead. Like, it doesn't really add up. Same thing with media. If you're watching TV shows, listening to podcasts, listening to music, and that content is made by or is transphobic, like, that's not gonna make your kid feel any better. Not only is it gonna make them feel like you don't accept and love them, even though you may say and act like you do, but it's gonna make them feel guilty, it's gonna make them feel weird, it's gonna make them feel ashamed, and it's just really not the vibe. The second to last one is to be confident. And what I mean by that is, even if you are not confident about your kid and you are not used to the name, you are not used to the pronouns, you're really struggling, fake it to make it. When you are introducing your family to somebody new, when you see your coworker in public and you've got your kid with you, don't say, oh, this is my kid. Or don't be like, this is my daughter Ashley, even though you know Ashley is Dylan now, because, oh, I don't want them to think it's weird, or I don't want to explain it. No, it's not about you. It's about your kid and loving them and making sure that they feel safe and comfortable and happy and loved. So even if you can barely even remember that your kid's name is Dylan now, you gotta grit your teeth and you gotta fake it till you make it. You gotta say, this is my son Dylan. And if your coworker looks at your son and is like, it's your son? You got a daughter? It doesn't matter, because you being confident in your kid is what matters. If you're with a group of people and someone says, oh, hey Ashley, come over here, say, he goes by Dylan now. It's as easy as that. It's awkward. I know it's awkward. And listen, I can barely stand up for myself. When somebody calls me the wrong pronoun, I usually just sit there and I'm like, well, I guess, oh well. But it means so much to people when somebody says, oh, ask her to do it. And one of my coworkers says, he, and they go, oh, sorry, ask him to do it. It means a lot. And as a parent, I feel like it's part of your responsibility, you know? Make sure people are treating your kids fairly and respectfully. And the very last one, just a little tip. They're all little tips. They're kind of big tips. This one's just a little tip. Understand gender roles and gender expression. You don't need to, like, go into a deep dive on, like, gender theory. But what I mean by that is that some girls don't like wearing makeup and they love playing football. They're still girls. Some boys love wearing makeup and wearing dresses. Have you seen Jeffree Star and James Charles? Those are men who were born and raised as men and who identify as men. And they love makeup and they love dresses. I personally, I love doing my makeup. I do. I love doing my makeup. I love having long hair. I love the look of long hair on men and women. And that doesn't make me less of a man. Being transgender, like, just because I'm transitioning to a man and I put makeup on my face doesn't mean, oh, I don't want to be a man, I'm really a woman. Like, no, I'm just a dude who likes wearing makeup, just like James Charles is a dude that likes wearing makeup. So if your kid is transitioning into a gender and the way that they want to look or present or dress or their hobbies and their interests don't match that gender, you have to understand that even people who aren't transgender can have interests that aren't masculine or feminine, you know? Like, a girl can like playing football. Just because football's a boy's thing doesn't mean a girl can't like football, you know what I mean? It's like we're not in elementary school where it's like pink is a girl's color and blue is a boy's color. You know? People can do what they want and like what they want. There are women that don't shave their body hair because they don't feel like it. There are men that do shave their body hair because they think they look cooler that way. I don't know. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's not a big like, oh, my kid's not actually trans. Oh, my kid is faking being trans. Maybe your kid just likes wearing makeup no matter what their gender is. Alright, I hope this video didn't end up being like 45 minutes long. I apologize for my long-windedness, but again, I feel like this is a very important topic and I didn't want to like cut anything out just to make the video shorter, because I'm hoping that the parents who are watching this, or whoever you're watching this for, whether it's your kid, a coworker, a friend, anyone, I hope that if you watched to this point, well, if you did watch to this point, actually, thank you. You obviously care a lot, because I know that this probably wasn't the most like entertaining, fun video, and it was time consuming for you to watch to the end, so you're doing the first thing right. You care enough that you watched all the way through, and that is a huge thing. My heater just turned on. I'm sorry if that's loud. I can't control it. But thank you for watching this video, and honestly, that's not even coming from me. Like, yes, I'm gonna get views on my channel from this, but thank you from the trans kid or trans person in your life for watching this video. I wish that this video existed for the people in my life from when I came out as a kid. Maybe that would have made things a little bit easier, and I'm hoping to make it easier on other trans people in the world. If you're transgender, or if you know parents of trans kids, or anyone that is going through having somebody trans in their life and they don't know how to react or what to do, please send them this video. If you find any other videos in the recommended under this video, send them those too, you know? Just try to spread the love, spread the education, and let's make the world a little bit more of a positive place in every small way that we can. I will try to link some stuff for parents and kids down below. Trans Lifeline, which is a suicide hotline specifically for trans people, and some like parent support groups and stuff will all be linked down below if you need it. I love you guys. I guess that's what I say to my normal audience. I feel like this isn't my normal audience, but you know what, trans parents, I love you too. And I don't know, you can subscribe if you want. I post about being trans sometimes, but I also post about other stuff. So yeah, have a good day. Thank you for being a good person and for wanting to do better, and peace out. Bye.